Violent crimes are a major problem in America, especially in the last 2 decades. There is a rapid increase in violent crimes nationwide, so death sentences are an effective method to deter crime in America as well as the whole world. One of the most common justification for death penalty in the Western world is that it acts as a deterrent of capital crimes, as the fear of death and the horror of execution could prevent people from committing serious crimes. The most used method of execution in the US is by lethal injection. Today, I'm going to argue that death penalty should continue to be legal and that it plays an important role in our fight against crime and punishment of the perpetrators of those crimes. Death penalty prevents crimes from recurring, protects society, and provides closure for families of the victims. First, I will talk about how death penalty could prevent crime from recurring, then I will discuss how it protects society, and finally, I will look at how it provides closure for families of the victims. First, let's get into how death penalty could prevent crimes from recurring. The reason why there are consequences in place for criminal violation is that we want to have a deterrent effect on specific behaviors. People who are considering a breach of the law must see that the consequences of their actions are worse if they go through without that action compared to following the law. If murderers are sentenced to death and executed, potential murderers will think twice before killing for the fear of losing their own life. Secondly, a robber is put in prison to prevent from robbing the streets again. With that said, vicious murderers must be killed to prevent them from murdering again, either in prison or in society if they should get out. Both as a deterrent and as a form of permanent incapacitation, the death penalty helps to prevent future crime. According to Death Penalty Information Center, every prisoner executed in 2020 had one or more significant mental or emotional impairments such as mental illness, intellectual disability, brain damage, or chronic trauma and was under age of 21 at the time of the crime for which a person was executed. After examining how death penalty could prevent crime from recurring, we can look at how it could protect society. First, there is an expectation in society that you should be able to live your life without the threat of harm. When there is someone who decides to go against this expectation by committing a violent crime, then there must be steps taken to provide everyone else the safety that they deserve. Although arguments can be made for rehabilitation, there are people who would continue their violent tendencies no matter what. The only way to keep people safe in those circumstances and still provide a sense of justice for the victims is the use of death penalty. According to Michael Summers, a professor of management science at Pepperdine University, claims that each execution carried out is correlated with 74 fewer murders the following year. Now that we understand how death penalty could protect society, we can discuss how it could provide closure to the families of the victims. The death penalty gives victims and co-victims assurance that morally depraved person can never hurt them again or anyone else again. If we sentence deserving criminals to the death penalty, victims and their families can find closure in knowing that justice has been done. According to Professor Michael Redelet of University of Colorado, abolishing the death penalty would deprive victims of closure, leading to increased mental and emotional health issues. It would also decrease victims' overall satisfaction with the criminal justice system, which should consider their needs a top priority. For this reason, we should not abolish the death penalty. To sum everything up, first, I talked about how death penalty prevents crime from recurring. Then I discussed how it protected society. And lastly, death penalty provided closure for families of the victims. Hopefully, by listening to this speech, you will think twice before committing a horrendous crime.